Hey guys, I wanted to give you some quick tips on how to go about our next assignment. I went through, picked my extremes, the poses that I wanted to make sure that I was getting in my initial blocking pass. Obviously this one here right before his toe leaves the ground, the stretch pose. And then this pose. Extreme down. This one as he goes into the air, right here at the top of his arc. This pose where he first touches, and here where he comes down. These are the poses that I put in my initial blocking pass. So if I select all of my controls and frame it inside the graph editor, this is what my graph editor currently looks like. Each one of these keys, I would select all the control, then I would set a key. So there's a key on every control and on every channel. You want to think of it like a drawing. Here's where we work out our initial posing. We want to be able to have the ability to easily adjust the timing without losing our poses. So here, let me bust all these. When you are using these characters, you'll notice that there's a new menu item up here on your top bar. If you click it, here where the top of it is sort of perforated, if you select here, you can tear off the menu and you'll see some really cool scripts that we can use that will help speed up the blocking process. Now that we've moved on to some more complex rigs, you're going to notice that there are a lot of settings that you have to play with. This control here, this placement control, is the one that you're going to set and forget. You're not going to be moving this control through space. The next most important control is this one here, this upper body control. You want to try to, as you pose your character, get as much mileage out of this control first, and make sure that you don't pull any of the other controls like the pelvis or the chest too far away from this main body control. Always start with the main body control first. Here we have the ability to change our limbs from IK to FK. When we're interacting with the ground, like, you're really going to want that foot to be IK. When a character is spinning through the air like this, it might be wise to switch the legs to FK so that you have only one control that you need to manipulate in order to get him to do this spin. So how can we use these tools here to help us create these poses a little bit faster? On the root control, this main upper body control, this control has the switches for IK and FK for all of our limbs. I went with the default settings of the character when it came in, and for the most part, when I began doing my blocking process, I went ahead and I used the FK arms and the IK legs. And that worked up to a point. Once I got to creating this pose, I switched the legs from IK to FK and basing it off a pose that I already had. In this pose, if you look at the legs are set to IK. So if I select it right here, you'll see over here that right leg and the left leg are set to 1, which is IK mode. When the leg is in IK, I can move the base around and the legs will stay stuck to the ground. I'll just ghost this and kind of remember generally where I was coming from. I need to have strokes turned on to have my ghosts. Oh, I had all my ghosts in there. Assault and just ghost this particular frame. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of my controls and I'm going to just delete this key. But I know I want to have a key here, set a key. I want to base this pose. I want to recreate here on this pose when he's scrunched down. Copy this pose by right-clicking down here on the timeline. I'll say copy. I'll go to frame 33, paste that pose. Now I want to make a few adjustments to the pose. Start with my main upper body control. If I try to move the pose up here and I do it by selecting the root and both IK legs, it gets really difficult to manipulate the character like this. It just starts falling apart. Now what I'm going to do is I want to switch these legs from IK to FK. Select the IK control down here and do IK FK switch. Now the entire leg is FK. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Select the control right here. I'm going to hit IK FK switch, and now the leg is FK, which means since both the arms and the legs are FK, I can go ahead and move the main, this main upper body control up and into the air and rotate him flipping over using only one control to make that pose. And because we're using step key, the FK, IK switch is okay. So it was pretty easy to create this pose from the last pose by just continuing to rotate the upper body control around. When you're creating your poses, you want to make sure that you're using the settings that are appropriate for the pose that you're creating. I used the IK FK switch and switched the legs to FK while it was in the air, and then back to IK when he's on the ground. The other thing I did is, see, the arms have been FK this entire time, yet once they contact the ground down here, you'll see this is now an IK arm, because instead of having a circle around the elbow, now I have the elbow pointet here. If I select this main body control and I try moving my character back or forth, the hands and the feet now are sticking on the ground. Next step is to go in, plus all these poses, concentrating on creating a strong line of action and a super readable silhouette, and add a few more breakdowns.